I never imagined I'd find myself in such a complicated emotional storm, yet here I was, staring out the window of my suburban Virginia home, wondering how everything became so entangled. My name is Diane Turner, a 49-year-old mother and a recently retired school principal. Life had been relatively predictable, even comforting in its routines, until my daughter Emily married Jacob. Jacob Reynolds, 31, was charming in a quiet, confident way. He was a software engineer, thoughtful, respectful, and incredibly attentive to Emily. When they first introduced him to me, I liked him immediately. He seemed to have that rare balance of ambition and humility. As a mother, I felt relieved that Emily had found someone so grounded. They got married in a small ceremony in our backyard, and I remember crying tears of joy as I watched my daughter walk down the aisle. But months after the wedding, subtle changes began to occur. Emily got busier at work, often traveling for her firm, sometimes for weeks at a time. She trusted Jacob completely, and I did too. He would sometimes stop by the house to check on me, fix something around the house, or bring over dinner just to keep me company. At first, it was all innocent. We would sit and talk mostly about Emily and his work. I appreciated his kindness, especially since retirement had left me feeling a little adrift. My days lacked the structure and purpose they once had, and Jacob's visits became moments I looked forward to. One evening, he came over with takeout from my favorite Thai place. Emily was away on a business trip in Chicago, and Jacob said he thought I might be lonely. We talked for hours, sipping wine and sharing stories about our lives. He told me about his childhood in Ohio, his dreams of building his own tech startup, and how much he loved Emily. It was during one of these evenings that something changed. I laughed at something he said, and our eyes met in a way they hadn't before. It lingered. There was a shift in the air, an unspoken acknowledgement of something neither of us dared to name. I shook it off, blaming the wine and my imagination, but it kept happening. Long conversations turned into longer stares. Accidental touches became more frequent. He started noticing things about me, my new hairstyle, the perfume I wore, even how I rearranged the living room. I should have pulled away, created space, but I didn't. Maybe I was flattered, or maybe I just missed being seen that way. The turning point came one Saturday afternoon. Emily was gone for a week-long conference, and Jacob came by to help me with a leaky faucet. We were in the kitchen, hands wet, laughing over the mess we made. Then, without thinking, he reached over and tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His hand lingered, and I didn't stop him. "Diane," he said softly, "I know this is crazy, but sometimes I feel closer to you than to anyone else." My heart pounded. I felt everything: guilt, confusion, a spark of something I hadn't felt in years. "Jacob, we can't," I whispered. "You're my daughter's husband." He nodded slowly, stepping back. "I know. I'm sorry. I don't know what this is, but I can't ignore it anymore." That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind ran in circles, wrestling with emotions I had buried for so long. I thought about my late husband, about the years I had poured into raising Emily, about the loneliness that had crept into my life when no one was looking. And I thought about Jacob. Days passed and I avoided him. I ignored his texts and calls, hoping distance would dissolve whatever had begun. But then Emily returned, and we had a family dinner. Everything felt normal again, but beneath the surface, there was tension, at least for me. Jacob didn't push after that. He respected my distance, acted like nothing happened. But every glance, every brush of his hand when he passed me a plate, reminded me of that moment in the kitchen. Weeks went by, and I tried to convince myself that I had imagined it all. But deep down, I knew better. One evening, Emily called to tell me she was flying out again for another trip. She asked if I could check in on Jacob while she was away, just to make sure he was eating well and not overworking himself. I agreed, reluctantly. When I arrived at their apartment, Jacob greeted me warmly, acting casual, as if we were just friends. We cooked together, shared a quiet dinner, and talked about Emily. But then, as I was about to leave, he stopped me. "Diane, please don't go yet," he said. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, then nodded. We sat on the couch, and he poured his heart out. How he felt misunderstood by Emily lately, how alone he had been feeling, and how much he valued our connection. I listened, torn. I knew this was dangerous territory, but part of me wanted to be there for him. Not as a replacement for my daughter, but as someone who understood him. That night, nothing happened beyond words. But the emotional intimacy we shared was undeniable. I left his apartment feeling both closer to him and more conflicted than ever. Eventually, I confronted the truth. I needed to set clear boundaries. The connection we shared, however deep, couldn't go any further. It wasn't fair to Emily, and it wasn't right. So I sat down and wrote Jacob a letter. I told him how much I appreciated his kindness, his vulnerability, and his support during a difficult time in my life. But I also told him that we needed to step back to protect the people we loved and to honor the roles we had in each other's lives. I left the letter at his door and didn't look back. Over time, things returned to a fragile normal. Emily and Jacob worked through their challenges, and I focused on rediscovering my own identity, joining a community book club, volunteering at the local library, even traveling a bit. The experience left its mark on me, a bittersweet reminder of how complicated human emotions can be. But it also reminded me of my own strength and the importance of making choices that align with my values. Jacob and I still see each other during family gatherings or holidays, but we keep our conversations light, respectful. The past remains unspoken, a chapter quietly closed. And though I carry the memory of what almost was, I also carry the pride of having chosen what was right. In the end, love can show up in unexpected ways. But so can integrity. And sometimes, the greatest act of love is knowing when to let go.